over, the teacher also has to measure in his mind what is the level of understanding of the student. What is his framework? What is his potential of grasping, comprehending, understanding, all the different capabilities that a person needs to understand something, some concept, a deep philosophy, a deep concept. This is the first hay of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. This is the territory of the student as it is still calculated in the mind of the giver, of the teacher. Then comes the process. What is the process? A Vav. He starts drawing down to the student. Like we had over here a Kav. A Kav is the line. It's starting to draw down. And then he finally reaches the second hay, which is the territory of the student, the mind of the student. So actually the 4 letters of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is a 4-step procedure, how a teacher needs to prepare and eventually how he could relay a concept to the student. So Yud-Kei Vav is only part of it. It's the Yud Vav-Kei is only the second hay of the Shem Havaya, of the 4 letters of the Almighty's name, because this relates more to the receiver. And when we say there's already a territory, there is a diagram with the dimensions, that is the second hay in Hashem's name, because the first hay is still in the Mashpia, it's still in the giver's level, on the giver's level and standard. The second hay is actually the hay which is the receiver, the world of the receiver. Now, how do these 3 concepts, Nikude, Kav, and Shetach, connect with Olam, Shona, Nefesh, place, time, and person? Here it's going to get a little more rigid. Olam, place, no, anybody could figure on their own. What would you figure place is from the 3 letters of Yud Vav Kei? Would be the K. Would be the territory itself, the receiver, the world of the receiver. So Olam, place, is the K. It's the world of the receiver. It's the dimensions, the structure of a receiver. Let's skip the Shona, which is time. Let's go to Nefesh. Nefesh is the soul. Which one of the other 2 letters would that be? Would it be a Yud or a Vav? The soul being the one sustaining everything. That would be the Yud. That would be a Yud. Because the Yud is like still removed, it's closer to soul. The capability of Yud is Chochmah. Why is Yud considered a Yud? Why is Chochmah considered a Yud? Because it's like when somebody's studying something and all of a sudden a lightning strikes. And he says, I have something, I'm talking about not a physical lightning. Something strikes his mind, I have an idea. He's studying something and there's something there that he has no idea what it is. He's up against the wall, all of a sudden an idea dawns on him and he says, this is a lightning strike. In Tanya, the Alter Rebbe, Shnei Zalman of the Adi says this is Borok HaMavrik, it's like a lightning. He still doesn't know if that will apply here or not, but he thinks he has an idea. But in order to understand it, he would have to bring it down on a level of analysis, which is Bina, analyzing it in the length and the breadth, and then after that, it would have to come down into emotions, from intellect emotions. So therefore, Yud is considered a dat, a Borek HaMavrik Chochmah, because Chochmah is only a Yud, it's one dat. Didn't analyze it, didn't dissect it, didn't study, didn't examine it. So therefore it is still beyond him. It is closer to his soul than to him. It just came out, a certain thought came to his mind. It's the first lightning that comes from his mind. So we have like this, we have place and we have person. Place is the hay and person is, not person, Nefesh, let's talk here, Nefesh, is the Yud. Now what is Shin? The Shin is the Vav. Shona, time is the Vav, the vertical line. Why is time the vertical line? Because when we study the three letters of Yud Vav Tei, we have a Yud, which is completely removed, still higher. We have a Hey, which is territory. And then we have a Vav that bridges them together. That bridges together the Yud, which is still removed from world, and comes down in a Hey, which is territory. And this is the reason why time is compared to a Vav. What is time? Time is Chassidus explains that the union of time is basically a structure where there is a before and there's an after. There's an earlier and there's a later. Where does this come from? So Chassidus explains everything in the world to connect spiritual matters, the spiritual sustenance together, sustaining the physical creation, there needs to be a bridge between them. The bridge is considered in Chassidus Rotzi V'Shuv. Rotzi V'Shuv means a constant movement, circulation of the sustaining energy that's connecting these two opposite extremes, the spiritual and the physical, the soul and the body. And that is called Rotzi V'Shuv. Rotzi V'Shuv, in order to connect two opposite extremes, it's not just that it remains fixed, but there is always a pull from one side and there's a pull from the other side. The soul, the spiritual soul, the spirituality in general, has this inclination to elevate, to connect to higher. That is called a Rotzi. Removing oneself, running, yearning to higher. The body, the physical body, has its inyan like dust, rests, descends. In order to connect them together, you need a representation from both. On one hand, connecting to higher, on the other hand, connecting to lower. This is called Rotzi V'Shuv, running one way and running back. In our body, we have it every second. This is the circulation, the blood circulation that takes place in the body. The heart, there's blood that comes to the heart, and then there's blood that comes from the heart. It's constantly circulating the body. One is called Rotzi, running to the heart. The other one is called Shuv, settling back into the limbs of the body. And this is something that in all the levels of creation, worlds, creations, malachim, in general more than the neshamas that are in bodies, all of them have this idea of Rotzi V'Shuv in order to merge them together, so we have from both ingredients together. And this is what time is. In order, there should be time, so there's a need to be a earlier and a later. What is that in Rotzi V'Shuv? The sequence of time, the delay of time, is actually stems from this idea of Rotzi V'Shuv. Rotzi is a second earlier, Shuv is a second later. So this rhythm of the heart, which is in the physical body, and the rhythm of the godly energy, which is sustaining the world in such a motion, constant moving back and forth, this in itself is a sequence of time, and this is the source for time. And this accomplishes the earlier and the later. Yes, and we'll stop by this part here, for everybody to have a safe landing. Basically, the idea of time is also mentioned in Chassidus based on a Medrash. The Medrash says a very interesting thing about the 10 attributes. Where does time come from? The 24 hours is one thing, but where does the sequence of time come from? It comes from the sequence of the 10 attributes. When one comes before the other, this creates the source for time, for an earlier and a later. This is what the Medrash says. Melamed shahoya seder zmanim kedem lachen. There was already a sequence of time in the higher worlds. And then it came down into physical time in which we find ourselves in.